Olivia Reynolds stood at the simulator controls of Nellis Air Force Base's Advanced Combat Training Center. Her brunette hair pulled back in a regulation bun as she struggled to explain basic fighter maneuvers to a class of eager F-16 pilot candidates. Around her, the students exchanged skeptical glances as she fumbled with the simulator's throttle controls, her demonstration of a simple split S maneuver ending in a virtual crash for the third time that morning. "Reynolds, that's enough!" barked Colonel Matthews, the chief training officer, his voice cutting through the embarrassed silence. "You're confusing these pilots more than teaching them. How did you even get assigned to ACTC with these skills? From which city in the world are you watching this video today? Let us know in the comments, and if you believe that heroes come in the most unexpected forms, don't forget to subscribe." The students stifled their laughter as Olivia stepped away from the controls, her face flushed with humiliation. At 31, she was the newest and least respected instructor at the Air Force's premier fighter pilot training facility, a position that seemed increasingly precarious with each failed demonstration. For 3 months, she had struggled with the most basic flight maneuvers, unable to complete even simple combat scenarios without crashing or being shot down by the AI opponents. "I'll take over from here," Colonel Matthews said, sliding into the instructor's seat as Olivia retreated to the back of the room. "Let me show you how a proper engagement is executed." As she moved to the rear of the simulator room, Captain Derek Sanderson, one of the more sympathetic students, offered her a bottle of water. "Don't worry about it," he whispered. "Everyone has bad days." Olivia nodded gratefully, taking the water with hands that trembled slightly. As she reached for the bottle, the sleeve of her flight suit pulled back just enough to reveal the edge of something dark on her wrist, a tattoo, partially visible beneath her watch. "Is that the 77th Fighter Squadron emblem?" Derek asked, catching a glimpse of the distinctive skull and crossbones design. "It's nothing," Olivia said quickly, pulling her sleeve down. "Just a reminder of a different time." The moment passed as Colonel Matthews launched into his demonstration, expertly maneuvering the virtual F-16 through a series of complex defensive countermeasures against multiple threats. The students turned their attention back to the front, Olivia's embarrassment forgotten as they absorbed the proper techniques. During lunch break, Olivia sat alone in the corner of the officers' mess, picking at her food without much appetite. Her mind replayed the morning's failures on an endless loop, the confused looks from students, the disappointment in Colonel Matthews' eyes, the whispers that followed her through the hallways. 3 months of this had taken its toll. Each night she returned to her small on-base apartment, exhausted from the effort of maintaining her facade, only to face nightmares that left her sheets soaked with sweat. "Mind if I join you?" Olivia looked up to see Major Lisa Hendricks, the base's senior flight surgeon, standing beside her table with a tray. Without waiting for a response, the doctor sat down across from her. "I hear you're having some trouble in the simulator," Hendricks said, her tone casual but her eyes evaluating. "News travels fast," Olivia replied, pushing her salad around the plate. "It's a small base," Hendricks agreed, "and I make it my business to know when pilots are struggling." Olivia stiffened. "I'm fine. Are you?" The doctor leaned forward. "Because your file says you haven't completed your 6-month post-deployment medical evaluation. I've been busy with the training schedule." "Too busy for mandatory medical checks?" Hendricks raised an eyebrow. "That's a grounding offense, Captain." Olivia met the doctor's gaze. "Are you threatening me?" "I'm offering help," Hendricks replied softly. "Whatever's happening in that simulator room isn't just about skill. I've seen your service record, the redacted version, anyway." Before Olivia could respond, her phone buzzed with a message from Colonel Matthews. "My office, 1300 hours." "I need to go," she said, standing abruptly. "Thanks for your concern, Major, but I'm handling it." As she walked away, Hendricks called after her, "The offer stands, Captain. My door is always open." Olivia hurried through the corridors, her mind racing. Had Matthews decided to terminate her position? Had someone from Air Force Intelligence contacted him? The possibilities multiplied with each step. When she arrived at his office, she was surprised to find not just Matthews, but also General Carson, the base commander, waiting for her. Both men wore grave expressions. "Captain Reynolds, take a seat," General Carson said, gesturing to the empty chair. "Sir," she acknowledged, sitting ramrod straight, preparing for the worst. "I'll get right to the point," Carson continued. "We've received intelligence about a potential security threat to the base, specifically targeting our nuclear storage facilities. This was not what Olivia had expected. What kind of threat, sir? Domestic extremist group, Matthews explained. They've been monitoring our patrol patterns, alert status, response times, planning something big. Intelligence believes they may attempt an aerial approach, Carson added. Low and fast, under our radar coverage, possibly as soon as today. Olivia frowned. Our QRF should be able to intercept any unauthorized aircraft well before they reach restricted airspace. That's the problem, Matthews said. Someone has been tampering with our alert aircraft. Maintenance found evidence of sabotage during this morning's checks. We're inspecting every aircraft on base, but it will take hours. Meanwhile, Carson continued, we've increased ground security and notified neighboring bases, but their response time would be at least 20 minutes. Why are you telling me this? Olivia asked, though she suspected the answer. Carson exchanged a glance with Matthews before responding. Your simulator performance notwithstanding, you have the most extensive combat experience of any pilot currently on base. If something happens before we clear our aircraft, we may need you in the air. With all due respect, sir, Olivia said carefully, if you've seen my simulator scores, you know that would be a mistake. Would it? Matthews asked, sliding a folder across the desk. Because this says otherwise. Olivia recognized the folder immediately. Her complete service record, not the sanitized version used for her instructor position. The full document detailed her specialized training in SEAD operations, her combat missions over Iraq, and her decorations, including the Distinguished Flying Cross she'd received after her final mission. Later that afternoon, as the training day concluded, Olivia sat alone in the briefing room, reviewing the day's failures and preparing for tomorrow's inevitable struggles. The door opened, and Colonel Matthews entered, his face unreadable as he took a seat across from her. Reynolds, we need to talk about your performance, he said, placing a folder on the table between them. 3 months of consistent failure is enough data to make a decision. Olivia nodded, resigned to what was coming. I understand, sir. What I don't understand, Matthews continued, opening the folder, is why someone with your actual flight record is performing so poorly in a simulator. He turned the folder around, revealing a heavily redacted document with a familiar emblem at the top, the same skull and crossbones that adorned her wrist. Olivia's breath caught in her throat. Sir, This is a FOIA request that came across my desk this morning, Matthews said, his voice lower now. Someone was looking into the 77th's operations during Operation Northern Watch. Your name came up, but most of the details are blacked out. He tapped the paper. 17 confirmed SIAD missions over northern Iraq. 17 SAM sites neutralized. That's not the record of someone who can't fly a basic split S. Olivia remained silent, her eyes fixed on the document. So I'm going to ask you once, Captain Reynolds, Matthews said, leaning forward. What's going on? The silence stretched between them for a long moment, before Olivia finally spoke. Sir, I was instructed to maintain my cover at all costs. Cover? Matthews' eyebrows rose. By whom? Air Force Intelligence, she replied quietly. I'm here as part of an internal security assessment. They wanted to see how long it would take for someone to question my credentials or investigate my background. Matthews stared at her, disbelief evident on his face. You're telling me you've been deliberately failing for 3 months as some kind of test? Not exactly, sir, Olivia said, straightening in her chair. I was testing the vetting procedures for instructor positions. Given my actual experience, I should never have been approved for this role without a thorough background check. Before Matthews could respond, an alarm blared throughout the facility, the distinctive tone indicating a base-wide emergency. Both officers were on their feet instantly, moving toward the door when it burst open, revealing a breathless airman. Sir, we have a situation, the young man reported. 2 unidentified aircraft have penetrated our airspace and are not responding to communications. They're on a direct course for the nuclear storage area. Where's the QRF? Matthews demanded, referring to the quick reaction force of alert fighters. That's the problem, sir, the airman replied. Both alert F-16s experienced mechanical failures during takeoff. Backup aircraft are being prepped, but they're at least 15 minutes out. Matthews cursed under his breath. And the unidentified aircraft? 8 minutes from restricted airspace, sir. Matthews turned to Olivia, his expression grim. Reynolds, regardless of whatever game intelligence is playing, I need to know right now. Can you actually fly? Olivia's demeanor changed instantly, her posture straightening as she met his gaze with newfound confidence. "Sir, I've logged over 2,000 hours in F-16s, including 76 combat missions. Yes, I can fly." "Then get to Hangar 3. We have a training aircraft prepped for tomorrow's exercises. It's armed with live ammunition for the range qualification." "A single aircraft against two unknowns?" Olivia asked. "It's all we've got," Matthews replied. "Go." 5 minutes later, Olivia sat in the cockpit of an F-16C, her hands moving through the startup sequence with practiced precision that belied her months of simulated incompetence. As the engine roared to life, she heard Colonel Matthews' voice in her headset. "Reynolds, be advised, the unknowns are now confirmed hostile. They've ignored all warnings and continue on course. You are cleared to engage if they cross into restricted airspace." "Copy that," Olivia responded, her voice calm and professional as she taxied to the runway. "Any ID on the aircraft type?" "Appears to be modified civilian aircraft, possibly with improvised weapon systems. Intelligence suggests domestic extremist group." As the F-16 accelerated down the runway, Olivia felt a familiar surge of power as the fighter lifted into the clear Nevada sky. Banking hard to the north, she quickly spotted the two incoming aircraft, small, twin-engine planes flying low and fast toward the base. "This is Air Force Viper 1, she broadcast on the emergency frequency. "Unidentified aircraft, you have entered restricted military airspace. Turn away immediately, or you will be shot down." No response came as the aircraft continued their approach. Olivia positioned her F-16 directly in their path, performing a threatening pass that caused one of the planes to waver slightly before resuming course. "Final warning," she broadcast. "Turn away now." When the aircraft maintained their course, crossing the final boundary into the nuclear storage area's restricted zone, Olivia made her decision. With precise movements that reflected years of combat experience, she locked onto the lead aircraft and fired a short burst from the F-16's 20mm cannon. The rounds tore through the civilian plane's engine, sending it into an immediate descent. As the second aircraft attempted to veer away, she executed a perfect high G-turn that her simulator performance had suggested was far beyond her abilities, positioning herself for a clear shot that disabled the second plane without destroying it. Both aircraft made emergency landings in the desert, where security forces quickly surrounded and apprehended the pilots. When Olivia returned to base 30 minutes later, the entire command staff was waiting on the tarmac. As she climbed down from the cockpit, Colonel Matthews approached, his expression a mixture of respect and irritation. "That was some flying, Captain," he said. "Nothing like your simulator performance." "Thank you, sir," Olivia replied, removing her flight helmet to reveal a thin sheen of sweat on her forehead. "So, Air Force intelligence, huh?" Matthews asked as they walked toward the debriefing room. "Testing our vetting procedures?" Olivia hesitated, then sighed. "Sir, with respect, that wasn't entirely accurate." Matthews stopped walking. "Explain." 3 months ago, I was diagnosed with PTSD from my last deployment," she said quietly. "Those 17 SAM sites I took out? The last one shot me down. I ejected over enemy territory and spent 3 days evading capture before extraction." She rolled up her sleeve, revealing the full tattoo, the 77th Fighter Squadron emblem with 17 small lightning bolts beneath it. "The Air Force wanted to ground me permanently, but my commander argued I could still contribute as an instructor while undergoing treatment." "And the simulator failures?" Matthews asked. "Real," Olivia admitted. "Every time I sit in that simulator, I freeze up. The memories come flooding back, the missile lock warning, the impact, the ejection." She looked toward the F-16 she had just landed. "But up there, in an actual cockpit, it's different. It's where I belong." Colonel Matthews studied her for a long moment before nodding slowly. "Well, Captain Reynolds, it seems we have some paperwork to update, and perhaps a different approach to your instructor duties." The next morning, the student pilots filed into the briefing room to find Olivia standing confidently at the front, her flight suit now adorned with combat patches that had been absent before. On the screen behind her was gun camera footage from yesterday's interception, showing textbook maneuvers that none of them had mastered yet. "Good morning," she said, her voice steady and authoritative. "Today's lesson is on CD operations, suppression of enemy air defenses. And contrary to what my simulator performance might have suggested, this is actually my specialty." As the students settled in with newfound respect, Captain Derek Sanderson noticed something different about their instructor. The hesitation was gone, replaced by the confident demeanor of a combat-proven pilot, and on her wrist, no longer hidden but displayed with quiet pride, was the tattoo of the 77th Fighter Squadron, a reminder that sometimes the most skilled warriors are fighting battles we cannot see.